Welcome back to another episode of FPO&G, Financial Planning for Oil and Gas Professionals. This week on the podcast, we're doing a Meet the Team with our newest Fort Worth team member, Reagan Miller. Reagan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have this conversation, have the listeners, clients, prospects, friends get to know a little more about you and your journey. But I'd love for you to just kind of start off and share. Tell us a little more about you and how you ended up getting here.
Yeah. Born and raised in the Fort Worth area. Went to school at UT Arlington and got my degree in communications with an emphasis in public relations. I really wanted to do social media and marketing, and then I found a role in marketing for the last 3 years, really loved it, and then found the admin side of things, office management, and I really fell in love with that. Love to just check things off of a to-do list. So that part of it really excited me. And then how I came here, I found this role on LinkedIn. Thought it was really interesting. I'd never experienced anything in wealth management. And so I was like, let me look into this, and thought it was really cool. And then interviewed with you guys, and here we are.
Incredible. So I'm curious, I should know the answer to this, but I don't. A resident Fort Worth person, what do they call themselves? Like a Fort Worthian, or what is the correct vernacular there?
I have no idea. I don't call myself anything crazy.
We'll go with Fort Worthian. And if that's not trademarked, I want all the royalties associated with that. So you've been here your whole life. What's your favorite thing about being in Fort Worth?
Well, I should say I've been in Burleson, which if you're not familiar with the Fort Worth area, Burleson is south of Fort Worth. I grew up in Burleson and went to high school there and moved to Fort Worth straight out of high school at 18 and fell in love with being outside of my parents' house, I guess. Love my parents to death, love my family, but loved being able to just be independent. And Fort Worth is great for that, especially where I was in the West Worth Village in Fort Worth. And there's a lot of things to do over there for a young adult, I'd say. And then what I love now about Fort Worth as an almost 30-year-old, I'd say, is the sense of community. People are really nice here. And then there's just something to do for everyone. Whether you like to go out to the bars in the countryside, which we were just talking about, the stockyards, whether you like that or you want to go down to 7th Street if the countryside of Fort Worth is not your thing, or museums, places to just walk around, trails to ride your bike. There's so much to do in Fort Worth, and I just really love it. It has the small town vibe, but also with everything to do.
Yeah, and anytime you're hankering for a big city, you can go across the Metroplex to Dallas, sit at some traffic, and regret it.
Yes, exactly.
So you're a native Fort Worthian, or I guess Fort Worth Metroian, right?
Yes.
Being, not the outer pockets of Fort Worth. If you had to leave, where would you go?
I've thought about this. The kicker is if I had to leave, I would not leave if I was not forced to. Because I really love my family, like I kind of alluded to earlier. And having a 2-year-old, it's super important for me to be near my family. So 2 answers. If you're forcing me to leave, I guess I'm going to go to Colorado. Don't know where in Colorado. Probably somewhere up higher where the mountains are. Really love the mountains. I love the snow. Being from Texas, I haven't got to experience a lot of snow. So we have been to Colorado, and it was super fun. And where we were was a small town, very nice. Going out into the mountains, going on a hike, super cool. Love that. Unrealistically, I would move to the UK in a heartbeat because I'm obsessed with the UK and I love history. UK and just Europe has a lot of history. So I would love, love, love to move there.
Awesome. So Buckingham Palace or Colorado, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Definitely Buckingham Palace if I had the choice.
Awesome. So you were talking about this earlier, but you spent most of your career in kind of advertising, social media, doing that for different companies. And to be clear, with only 6 people on board, we all do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So you get some admin, get some marketing. Why pivot to wealth management?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's something I've asked myself too. I can't say there's an exact answer to why wealth management. I think it was put in front of me, this position, and then learning about it, I looked into wealth management, obviously researched your website and saw how cool it is and just interesting. And I think now, after being here for however long, I'm even more interested in wealth management and the financial side of things. Coming from my background in social media, I have done social media for so many different kinds of companies. And so it didn't scare me to jump into a new industry, it was very enticing. And now learning more about it, I'm very excited. And I think it would be beneficial for me to be here as well for like my personal finances.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because, you know the most of social media marketing out of any of us, but it's also what we're selling as a service. And the conversion cycle, if you will, of getting someone to trust handing over their life savings to somebody is probably very different than getting them to hire you for HR recruiting or whatever,
Yes,
something
yeah.
different. So yeah, it's funny because you have that set of skills, but also interesting thinking about the application being different. Taking a step back, thinking about, hey, wealth management wasn't really on your radar. Now it's something you're doing and kind of helping us with as a firm is kind of building out this wealth management brand. What's your money story? What was kind of your first memory of money?
As a child, like, I'm sure I had money somewhere along the line. Like, I got money. I babysat a lot as a kid. So I'm sure I got some money then. But my first, like, real memory of money, I would say, on my 16th birthday, my mom drugged me up to Applebee's to get a job, which is where my older brother and older sister worked. I was kicking and screaming to go find this job at 16. I did not want to. None of my friends had a job. I was the older one of all of my friends, so I was the first one at 16, didn't want to work. I remember I wore ripped jeans, so I would not get the job because I was like, they're not going to like me. They did, and I got hired on right then to be a hostess. And when I got my first paycheck, and at Applebee's, when you were a hostess, you got a percentage of the tips that all the servers made because we bus tables and stuff for them. And I remember being like, oh my God, this is so cool to have money for myself, to be able to go do things rather than having to ask my mom for money. I said kicking and screaming, I did not want a job, but I will say now, like, I'm so glad I had a job at an early age. It really instilled just some character traits about me today, like work ethic and things of that manner. So I'm very grateful I did it. And then just getting money and being able to have something for yourself and go buy, like, I think I bought like some jeans with my first paycheck. I was super excited about it. So yeah, I guess that would be my first memory of money, would be not wanting to make it. And then as soon as I did, being like, okay, whole new world.
If you had to distill down, your parents, hey, 16, you got to get a job. What do you think their motivation was? What brought them to say, hey, you have to do this?
Well, I'm one of five, and I said I have an older brother and older sister that were there. And I think seeing them work, my mom and dad were probably like, look at what good character traits they're already having. It obviously creates some sort of responsibility in a teenager to have a job, to get there on time every day, to not call out, and then to get up and go to school the next day. So I'd say it was more of just to build that work ethic at a young age. And we didn't have a ton of money growing up. I say that, but like, I had a wonderful childhood. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. But I think, just really trying to instill, like, you're going to need to make money, so just go ahead and start now at a job that's not very high stakes. Being a hostess at Applebee's. And my mom and dad really loved Applebee's. So having almost all of their kids there was really awesome for them.
Oh, yeah. The employee discount was probably worth it.
Yes, it was amazing.
If anything. Thinking about kind of like your journey with money, it sounds like work ethic was valuable and you learned that, but also like the idea of having money was like just kind of like fun. And one of the things I love about like being a kid is all of your money is discretionary, right? When you're an adult, like you get in like car wrecks, insurance premiums, like food, like groceries, like all these, you have all these doctor's visits, co-pays, like there's so many things you spend money on that aren't fun. But like when you're a kid, like a lot of the times the money is all discretionary, which is just super fun. Maybe then and even today, and maybe those answers are the same. What things do you spend money on that like you really enjoy and like love having be a part of your life?
I don't want to sound cliche, but food. We
Yeah.
really love food. Like, we are, I'd say, a foodie. My husband is very picky, so we like to go out to eat and to try new things. And this is a really great area for that. There's so many great restaurants and things around here. So definitely food. Clothes has always been a thing for me. I love to buy some new clothes. Like I was saying, my birthday's coming up this weekend and I bought a new outfit. That's been my MO. Like, since I moved out, I realized, and like started going out, and I'd be like, okay, I need a new outfit for every new event. And then since having my baby, stuff for him, I really like to buy clothes for him and toys. He probably has way too much because you can't wear that much clothes as a toddler, and you're not going out and doing a bunch of crazy things. So I'd say clothes, really, honestly.
Well, I think that's like a big part of financial planning is like everybody's fixated on like, hey, where do I cut expenses? But like, hey, also, what are the things in my life that like I spend money on that I enjoy? and make it fun and make it worth it, right? And like there's just something so empowering about spending in ways that are congruent with who you are as a person. I'm curious, kind of pivoting to, you touched on it a little bit, but how exactly are you going to be helping us? We're, I don't know, what, about a month in at this point? So how are you helping us, and like when might clients interact with you?
How I'm helping so far, I'd say organizationally helping and just trying to like take things off of people's plates that should definitely be an office manager and admin kind of thing. Like you said, it's a small company, so we all wear a lot of hats. I really like that. I like to dabble into new things. Like I said in the job interview that there was accounting and bookkeeping tasks, and I'm super excited about that because I've never done it. So just learning something new is really enticing to me. And then also helping with the marketing side. Like I said, I've definitely leaned more into office management admin, but marketing still excites me. I do still have my degree and experience in marketing, so I'm very excited to delve into that. And just being the warm, friendly face that you see whenever you walk into our office or you call and you hear my voice. I love that. I love being able to talk to people. And I love hearing the clients on the other end. They're like, Carrie? Oh, Reagan? And then we kind of have like a little brief conversation about that. So that's super fun. And I'm excited to like be introduced to the clients officially whenever that happens, just so they know who to call. And when they're calling, they know it's not going to be Josh, Jared, Carrie answering the phone. It's going to be me. And I'm going to be the person that they get to talk to today that's warm to them.
Yeah, the front lines. That's the funny thing about being a growing business is like you're employee number 6. I want to drill down and just like repeat something you said. This is one of the things that stood out about you during the interview process was I asked you what piece of the role you were most excited for. And you said admin and bookkeeping. And I was like, why? And you were like, because I have no experience and it's fun to learn. Right.
Yeah.
And I think like one of our cultural values as a firm is like this idea of like excellence, which means like continuous improvement. And like the fact that you like leaned in and were most excited about the thing that you had less familiarity with really starkly demonstrated that. That answer caught me off guard, but in a good way. I guess the final thing, you have a bio on the website. We have this podcast now, but what's like one thing people might not know about you that is kind of like interesting or fun or unique that makes you you?
I think I alluded to it earlier in how much I love history, and it was a huge obsession in my life. Like one thing about me is I like to hyperfixate on things. And so history and English history became my hyperfixation for years. I wanted to write and kind of started to write blog articles for this podcaster. She would create podcasts about English history and I was going to write for her, and just doing the research for that. And you just learn so much about what's happened in our lifetime, and not only just English history and like kings and queens and stuff, but really obsessed with the Galveston hurricane. If you don't know about that, 1901 Galveston hurricane, huge. Love true crime, which isn't so individual. A lot of people love true crime these days. I like to hyperfixate on something, and I love a good debate. I love to argue with people in a good way. My husband is not the biggest fan of my debating, but I just really love, and I'll be wrong and I'll say it, I'm wrong, but it's going to take me a long time to admit that I'm wrong, and I'm going to research as much as I can to prove my point. So I guess you would not know that about me, that I really love to debate. And then other than that, I think I would call myself really funny.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Reagan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I'm glad you're on the journey, and you've only been here a month, but you've already made my life easier. So I'm looking forward to you continuing being on the team for a while and clients getting to learn more about you and your humor and your fixation with English history. Because I'm not going to lie, like Brownlee as a firm, we don't have much expertise there. So
okay, well, here I am.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for this episode. As always, love to hear ideas for future episodes, feedback of anything, or ideas for how we might change the format. Again, we're always looking for listener feedback. Like, subscribe, and share. Podcast@brownleewealthmanagement.com. Thanks. We'll see you next time.